Stuka Joe here. This is an impromptu unboxing video, and I'm testing all the equipment. Also, because today at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have the tour around the studio, which is the first actual live stream that I announced. So let's see how that comes out. So today we'll be unboxing a game that I received recently, and I'm not a big tactical kind of guy, but there are some tactical games that I'm really interested in, and one of those I was able to take a look at the convention in, okay, I'm not coming out. Here we are, okay. Now we're on. Okay, so here I see. Okay, so one of the games is The Last 100 Yards. This is a game designed by Mike Denson, and I had a chance to talk to Mike at Consume World, and this is a really unique system. It's different from all other tactical systems, and that's what I like about it. It's more based on human conduct, how the human beings behave when under fire, and so this is something that I'm really interested in, and I will be doing very soon the extended examples of play that are found in the rule book. I'll be doing videos on those. And but that's not the game we're going to unbox today. The game that we will be unboxing is this one, which is the other tactical system that I really like and I want to get into. And basically this is a tactical system that is not new, but is the only one that I know about that covers the Spanish Civil War, which is a conflict that I'm really interested in. This is the War Storm series, and this particular volume is Help Arrives, and this was a Kickstarter by Draco Ideas. And Help Arrives focuses on the campaigns involving foreign units in the Spanish Civil War. Like, for example, you have the Italian CTV on the nationalist side, and on the Republican side, you have the International Brigade. So you're going to have battles where those particular units participated, but of course, being the Spanish Civil War, you have a slew of other factions. It was a war between two sides, but within each side, there are many factions. So let's take a look. The box looks really nice. This is a 3-inch box. And I like the picture in front. This is based on a historical photograph of a, say, anarchist militia. I forget her name, but this was taken about like 8 days after the rise of, after the Civil War began in Barcelona. Barcelona was one of those places where the military rose against the Republic and failed. And it was a stronghold for the Republic for most of the war until the end. So this is very nice cover. And here we see the back of the box. We see the units, the depiction of the map. It brings a lot of counters, and the maps are isomorphic. As you will see, you can fit them in various ways. A standard and exclusive rulebook, 17 scenarios and charts, and of course dice. So let's open the box. See what's inside. Okay, here we have 2 D6s. Blue for the nationalists, red for the Republic, I suppose. These are the Alone in the Storm play rates so that you can play solitaire. This is artificial intelligence. I don't know exactly how it works, but you have here, for example, for infantry, you'll make a die roll here with a 1d10 and implement the result depending if it's company or officer. You have different kinds of results, and you have them divided by units. So this is the one for the Republican side. So I suppose there's one for the Nationalist, and here it is. And the same kind of chart. So, yeah, this looks more like a setup than actually movement. And we have more Republican recruitment chart. I think this is more to make up your own scenarios, because it has a cost in points. Okay. Here we have the exclusive rules for the this volume, Help Arrives, and they are the glossy paper type. We have illustrations there. You'll see later that the main rulebook has a lot of illustrations. Here we see campaign rules. And here we see setting up. These are the costs for points, I guess, again, if you're designing your own scenario. There's a lot of different kind of units. And this is a war that was fought between 1936 and 1939. So you have equipment that actually was present in World War II, but other equipment was outdated when World War II started. And here we have the rules manual. And this is a substantial rules manual. It's also glossy paper, comes in at 48 pages, but you will see that a lot of the rules here is basically diagrams, and it's broken down by basic rules, which you see here. They start at page 3 and they go up to page 21. And that's going to cover infantry. And then heavy weapons and transports starts in page 22 to 27. Then you have assault, starts in page 29. That's what would be the close combat situation. 29 to 32. Then you have AFVs. And this system includes AFVs from 34 to 37. Obstacles, air support and battalions, and that's how the rule book is divided. So let's just take a look at some pages here. So you see that's a lot of illustrations. One thing that I like about this game that calls my attention is the command system. You have, for example, the units to be in command, they have to be within range, and you have there I believe that's the company commander. And you have here the units. Units are assigned. They belong to formations, and I believe each formation is either a platoon or a company. I don't remember, but it's command driven here. Command is a big thing here. Here we have the terrain types. We have Lost Tribes. What are your final thoughts on CSW? Did I enjoy it? Yes, I enjoyed myself. I should have organized myself a little better. I made arrangements to play games, but not to interview people, so next time I'll put those in the calendar too. And I discovered live streaming in the middle of the convention, which I think can be better done. But I enjoyed it. Remember, for me, the hobby is playing games, but also doing videos and covering conventions, so I have to split my time better. But I mean, it was not as concurred as other conventions, but if you check out, it's the convention I've done the most videos on, and it's basically because of the live streaming, which allows it. And I think with planning ahead for a next convention, there's a lot of nice things that you can do live streaming. And like for example, organizing an interview, and it can be live streamed, the interview. And that means that I don't have to edit videos, so I can put up more videos. So yes, the balance, yes, I enjoyed it, and I like going to conventions. So here's an example with 4 illustrations here. This is a combat example. So the rule book has a fair amount of illustrations. And this is a system that's been around for a while already, so I think it's pretty stable. It didn't start with Draco Ideas. It started actually with Compass and A las Barricadas, which is another Spanish Civil War title. And then they made a couple of World War II. One is Campaign in France, 1940. The other one was, I believe, Paths to Hell. That's Russian campaign. So it's a system that's been for a while, and I think it's been stable. So just let me zoom in here. The glare comes with the rule book, but here is why I like this particular volume. Look at all the kinds of units that you have here. You have your regular Republican infantry here. You have assault guards, carabineers. Those are customs officials. When the war started, depending on where you were located, in one part of Spain, some parts of Spain, the nationalists prevailed, and in the nationalists, the military were in an uprising, and in other parts of Spain, the Republic held on. So you'll see, for example, Republican civil guards or Guardia Civil here, but there's also, in the game, there's also nationalist Guardia Civil, even though it's not depicted here. And I think the same happens with the carabineers, because these are custom officials. And I think also with the assault guards. So you have, depending on where the person was located, it was better for the person to say, yes, of course I'm of the faction that dominated here. And here you have a communist militia. And then the communists come in various flavors. You have the anarchists, which actually, at the beginning of the war, operated in columns and held elections sometimes to see if they wanted to attack or not. You imagine that, how inefficient that can be. Then you have the communists, but these are communists that appear to be aligned with the Soviets, because there were also the POM communists in Spain, which you see them down here, which are more like Spanish oriented communists, not necessarily aligned with the Soviets. And during the war, you had conflicts between communists at times. Andres Ning, I think one of the communist leaders, was recalled to Russia and executed over there. So there was influences by the Soviets to try to take over the communist movement in the Spanish Civil War. Of course, the Soviets poured a lot of equipment into the war, and you're going to see it with the Soviet tanks. And you have here also the Durruti anarchist militia. And Durruti was a very charismatic anarchist that raised a lot of troops, and I think went on to try to conquest Zaragoza at the beginning of the war. He was stopped and he was killed, so he died early on. Then you have Requete militia. These are militias from Navarre. Navarre is a heavily Catholic province in Spain, and these fought mainly against the Basques, who were also Catholic. But the Basques were interested in obtaining more self-government for them. And under the nationalists, of course, would not give it to them. The Republic would, so they aligned themselves with the Republic, even though they are mostly Catholic. But these are requetes. These are on the nationalist side, also Catholic oriented faction fighting other Catholics in the Basque provinces. So you have that type of conflict going on. Then you see Falangist militia. The Falange was an organization created by Jose Antonio, forgot his name, Primo de Rivera, who when the war started was in Alicante and was quickly arrested there and eventually executed, but under the Falange banner, there were many militias recruited, and eventually Franco was able to control the Falange and bring it into his grasp. So Franco never had the type of problems of different factions on his side undermining the effort as the Republicans did in the war. Then you have the CTV, these are the volunteer Italians. They got their asses kicked at Guadalajara. And of course, there's two types of Italians. You have the regular Italian soldiers, CTV Littorio, the Littorio division, which are a lot better than the CTV Italians. And then you have the leaders here. You have a Condor Legion, a leader that's German. So you had some Germans also fighting in tanks also. So as you will see, you got the international brigades, and these came from all around. Even in the United States, there was some Americans fighting in the international brigades. So this is the type of conflict that is not as gamed as much as World War II, of course, but it is a very interesting conflict in that sense. It's a civil war, but with a lot of influence from outside countries, and it's even reflected at the tactical level here. You have more illustrations of combat, assault, and this is like a table that cross-references, for example, with what you can attack other types of targets. For example, with a machine gun, you can't attack these type of targets. So, got more illustrations here. That's well illustrated, and of course not everything is going to apply to the scenario you play. This is one tactical system that I hope I can learn before the next Bellotacon, so I can play over there with the guys in Badajoz. Let's take a look at the maps. The maps are in heavy cardstock. They're printed on one side, and they are, I believe this is bigger than letter sized. This is map D, it's a map of the countryside. You have some terrain here, elevated terrain, and you have this small river crossing the middle of the map board. We have, this is map E. This is a more of a meandering type of river. Crossing, you have some trees here. I don't know what kind of terrain this actually is. I don't think it's woods, but must have some effect. It's elevated terrain also. Have some houses there. A lot of the battles in the Spanish Civil War were in the countryside. Not many city fighting, but in the countryside. Here we have more. This is map A. We have John Longshore. Don't worry, John, it's being recorded. My favorite game involving the Spanish Civil War is Crusade and Revolution, which is a strategic game. But this is the only one that I know at the tactical level. That's why I'm also interested in learning to play it. Let's go to the next map. The way I got this one was with a Kickstarter. It should be on Draco's website. Now this is more of a wooded map here. You have a road traversing the woods there. This game is going to cover a lot of battles around Madrid, where the Franco tried to capture Madrid early on in the war and failed. And that's when the international brigades arrived at Madrid, and you have the No Pasarán. So Madrid held on for a long time. Here we have another map. This one has more elevated terrain. This looks like cultivated terrain. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maps. Let's take a look at the counters. Here we see the counters. I think their illustrations are great. Let me just... there are two sizes. You have the 3/4 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch. The 3/4 are for... you have, for example, machine gun units, mortars, and armored fighting vehicles and guns. So these are all nationalists. You have all kinds of weapons here. Hotchkiss. These are machine guns. You have units, La Legión. Those units are Spanish Army regulars that were fighting in North Africa, so they're highly experienced. And these, of course, all fought on the nationalist side. But you also have Moros, Tropa Mora. Those are the North African soldiers recruited by the Spanish, the Algerians, Moroccans, and they were feared by the Republicans, not only because they were tough fighters, but by stuff they did after they occupied towns and cities. And so here we have the vehicles. And we see, for example, here you see Italian CB335s. These are what they call tankettes. You have the Panzer Is. Those are German Panzer Is. And then you have T-26s. These are tanks that were captured by the nationalists and used. So you have more machine guns there. The artist here is Nicolás Eskubi. He's also the designer. He's a great artist, as you can see the illustrations. There's air support there. You have the Heinkel 111, the Henschel 45, so that's a pre-war, and the Henschel 51, which is also this is a dive bomber that was used more pre-war, pre-Second World War. And you have the artillery pieces here. You have trucks, wagons, more Italian tanks. Yeah, you have armored cars which look kind of funny. You see, these are all on the nationalist side. So these are all nationalist armored cars, guns, machine gun units. My only gripe with the counters is this. They're extremely thin. That's my only gripe there. Now, I don't know if they are so thin that they are hard to handle. I haven't punched any of these counters out yet. I'll soon find out, I suppose. And here we have some markers. These are 5/8 of an inch. These are casualty markers based on that famous photograph by Robert Capa of a Republican soldier being shot. So that's where that image comes from. You got finished markers, routed out of command. I don't know what those in the bottom mean. And then we have the man-made terrain here. You got rubble, pontoon bridges, fortifications, machine gun bunkers, trenches, roadblocks, barbed wires, improved positions. And here we have the artillery spotting markers. And of course, these are all printed on the back side. You have the -2 casualty marker. And you have the under construction side for some of these man-made terrain features. And that's the back of these markers. And let's take a look at the next sheet. There's a lot of counters though. This one, yes, this one came outside of the game, exclusive. So this is like an add-on. Because I cracked open the game, I just placed it inside. And this is the front side. So you see here, for example, you see there Sergeant Aguilar. This is now the Republicans. You have some Spanish cavalry. You have Sergeant Herrero. That's the Guardia Civil. And that depiction here of the hat, that's the tricornio hat. The hat that has 3 points. It's like a triangular shaped hat. So you have the Guardia Civil here for the Republican side. But look, this is what I was telling you. Here you have the Guardia Civil with Sergeant Roncero, is it? Or Ronero? Let me zoom in a little bit more. Sergeant Roncero. Now you have the Guardia Civil on the nationalist side. And you have cavalry also. And then you have the Falange. You have the leaders. Sergeant Infante, Sergeant Chaparro. And now we go to the CTV, the Italians, which used the Adrian helmet during the Spanish Civil War, which is different from the Italian regular standard helmet in World War II. So you have that detail there, very nice. And then you have the famous requetes with their red... how do you say boinas? How do you say that in English? The red hats there. And these are event markers. Let's take a look at the other side here. See, we have the carabineros. Those are customs officials. And you have the anarchist, the red and black flag there. These are Durruti's guys. And you have the POM, which was one of the communist factions. And also you have the regular communist faction there, in full red background. Now we have the Guardias de Asalto, and you see them there. And here you have the Gudaris. These are Basque soldiers. And now we have the International Brigades, Captain Jause and Sergeant Koch. So that's a British guy fighting with the International Brigades. We have more International Brigades. And you have people from England, from Britain, France, Germany fighting in the International Brigades. So that's the front side. And here's the back side, which I think it's the reduced side here. So that's the third counter sheet. Now we go to another counter sheet. We have, these are Republicans. These are regular Republican soldiers in the top. So let's focus here. And we have, these are infantry, regular Republican infantry. You have a cavalry now, Sergeant Ruiz, figure. You have more civil Guardia Civil, Guardias de Asalto, more Basque troops, Gudari. So now on the other side, we still have more Republicans. A lot of leaders here. International Brigades. You got the POM and communist troops, Durruti's guys. Regular militia, anarchist militia. So that's the fourth sheet. And now let's go to the fifth sheet. And these are 3/4 of an inch Republican artillery here. We have the machine guns of the Guardias de Asalto, of the Gudaris, of militia. You have the International Brigade, so these are the machine gun. units. We have the armored cars there, more Soviet armored cars, BA-6s. You have now machine guns for militia and regular infantry. Now we have the mortars at the bottom. On the other side, we have, on the right, we have a French Potes 540, Soviet I-15. You have the tanks, and you can see a lot of Soviet tanks, BT-5s, T-26s. See these armored cars, BA-6s. Then you have these FT-17 tanks from, these I think are from World War I era tanks, which were still around. And these that say Trubia, I don't know. These look like also very old tanks. You have Tisnao, some trucks there, and makeshift armored cars, trucks, wagons, and now the artillery. And now we go to the 7th and last counter sheet. So here we have, this is infantry from the nationalist side. So we have the regular nationalist infantry. See them there, see the leaders. La Legión, which are those seasoned Spanish troops that fought in North Africa. Then you have the Tropa Mora, which are the Moors, the feared Moors there. You have the leaders, and you have some Falange. And now we take it to the other side. We have some more leaders there. Motorized infantry. These are Italians. CTV Littorio. And then we have the regular CTV. Then we have some cavalry there. It's interesting. What kind of cavalry that is. Guardia Civil, Requetés, more phalangists. And those are the counters for the game. The game brings some overlays that you place on the terrain in order to change it a bit. So we have here some overlays for urban terrain. And we have overlays here. This one specifically is for the Ebro campaign, I believe. I think it's going to represent the Ebro River. So this was a huge campaign in 1938 that the Republicans launched, and eventually they failed. Here we have another, this is like a half map section that also has that wide river here with a bridge. So I believe this is another overlay that you place on the map. And then the game includes, I believe, 17 scenarios. And here we have the scenario cards. The scenario cards basically list the historical premise of the scenario, the order of battle, map orientation and scenario length, victory conditions, and special rules. So this particular one is Oviedo Resist. Oviedo is a city in Asturias in northern Spain that was surrounded for a great part of the war, and it was surrounded. It was in the hands of the nationalists, and I think it never fell. It was finally the nationalists were able to open a path to Oviedo. We have here Advance to Brihuega. This is part of the Guadalajara campaign, 1937. Guadalajara is one of the few, very few, I think only 2 major battles that the Republicans won. That's one of them. And the Italians, the CTV, got the worst part of it there. Here we see the Battle of Trijueque, also part of the Guadalajara campaign. And the Road to France, first Guadalajara campaign. Then we have the river crossing. So this is the first Ebro campaign. And in the back we have advanced to Gandesa, also part of the Ebro campaign, the second Ebro campaign. And then we have here to Madrid, the Jarama campaign. This is 1937. This is an offensive by the nationalists to try to take Madrid in 1937. And at the back we have the Pindoque Bridge, also part of the Jarama campaign. Then we have Battle of La Ciudad Universitaria. This is in the outskirts of Madrid, in the first attempt by the nationalists to take it in November 1936. And in the back of this particular card, you have the Puente de los Franceses. It's a scenario here, which is also related to the attack on Madrid in 1936. Here we have another scenario card, Puente de los Franceses, second Madrid campaign. And Battle of La Casa de Campo, first Madrid campaign. Then you have Face to Face. This is 1936, July. This is right like 2 weeks after the war started. And you have the Ascaso column. These are together with Pom columns. They fought in columns here. Those are the Republicans. And they're going to Zaragoza, which was a nationalist stronghold. And they, of course, failed. De Llanos, which is 1937 here. And this is a part of the Battle of Brunete. Here we have Target Brihuega. This is part of, I think this is in Guadalajara. It's not part of a campaign. You can place some of the scenarios in campaign form. Cesena, October 1936. And we have here Todo por la Patria, everything for the country. This is a fictional scenario, 1936. You have Assault on Murua. So this is in December 1936. I know nothing about that. Can't remember anything about that. Here we have some playwrights. Penetration chart for the artillery of the nationalists. And you have the same for the Republicans down here. And the back side you have vehicles assault value chart. And we have the terrain effects chart. This is the back part of it. So you see there's a lot of different types of terrain. Here are most of the man-made terrain. Their effect on movement, defensive values, line of sight, and the height of each terrain feature. And here we see there's woods and light woods, which was what I was showing you later. Marsh, major river, minor river. So you have the terrain features there. And then there's this battalion morale chart. So here you keep track of the entire battalions and their morale. And this one has in the back the same in Spanish. Then we have some playwrights, the combat chart. It's based on fire factors. You have your die roll modifiers and loss numbers. Then you have your hand-to-hand combat chart. Officers coordination chart, infantry and weapons assault value chart. And in the back, we see here, this is an odds chart. This is to figure out the odds. Aerial attack chart, air location chart, spotting, target type, off-board artillery, effect of casualties in fire factor chart, I think. Here we have events. These are optional rules. So here you roll a die and apply these events. And I think we have the same here, but in Spanish in the back side. So that is all that comes with help arrives. It's stated before a tactical system. We've got Scott Whiting. Yeah, 2 tactical systems is, I think, going to be the tops for me because they're all different in a way. Most of them have common traits with that go back to squad leader, right? But some, like for example, the last 100 yards are very different, and it's hard to unlearn rules to learn rules. So I'm sticking to 2 tactical systems for now. One is the last 100 yards, which I want to learn to play because I think it's very different from everything else and very realistic, which is the other thing, because in these tactical games, when you have a view of all the map and all the units and everybody's acting in coordination, that's not very realistic. And I think last 100 yards deals with more how humans behave under fire. Does it better than other systems. And I want to learn this one because first, it's the only one that has the Spanish Civil War, and it is also one that interests me for its treatment of command, the way leaders affect combat. And you have also so much weapon systems, factions, and they're going to keep on doing more modules about the Spanish Civil War. I think A las Barricadas handles, I think, some early battles. This one handles, as you saw here, the battles involving foreign units, so maybe they'll continue doing more. There's a ton of battles in the Spanish Civil War that haven't been gamed at all, and that's what interests me. So that's Help Arrives from Draco Ideas, and this is a live unboxing, no editing, and unless you have any more questions, I'll leave it here. And I remind you, tonight, or this afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be showing the studio. A lot of people had requested me to show the studio, and I'll be doing that. And so tune in. That's going to be a live video. You can chat and ask questions. I'm going to have my camera going around the games and also show the table and also show the equipment that I use here in the studio. And hope you enjoy it, because a lot of people were asking me, hey, is that wallpaper you have back there? No, it's the real thing. So I'll be showing it around, but I wanted to do it live so that everybody who's interested can ask any question that you want in relating to the studio. So for now, that's the end of this unboxing video. And as I always say, this is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching.